Hello, my name is Paul Gabriel, and my guest this evening is the British High Commissioner to Malaysia, William Boyd McCleary. Welcome to Menara.
Nice to be here.
It's always a delight to see you in good health and good cheer.
Thank you.
I know. Welcome to Menara, and I know you're not a football fan, so we won't have any football questions for you about the FIFA
I'm
World
happy
Cup
to take football questions.
and England. But you've had a good 4 years in Malaysia, and what's going through your mind now as you prepare to board that jet plane back home?
Very mixed feelings. I was saying to someone recently, there's an expression in German. I studied German a long time ago, and there's a nice expression in German about doing something with one weeping and one laughing eye. Well, I'm laughing because I'm off to somewhere nice. I'm going to be posted to the Caribbean, where I'll be working in the British Virgin Islands as governor. But I'll be very sad to leave Malaysia. We've had 4 fantastic years here. 4 years when we've seen the whole country, met massive range of Malaysians, and we've loved it, absolutely loved it.
There have been several developments on your watch. What would you pick as the highlight during your tenure here?
I suppose one of the highlights must be the year when Malaysia celebrated its 50th anniversary. I think that was a highlight for the country. And it was not just a celebration for Malaysia, but also for the UK. As the former colonial power, we had a special role to play. One of the sons of Queen Elizabeth came out to represent the Queen on that occasion, Prince Andrew. And what we saw then was that Britain is still held in a very high regard by Malaysians of all professions and backgrounds. I was particularly struck by the pride of place given to the British veterans in the parade that day. Whilst we are right to look forward, and we did decide that the 50th anniversary should be about looking forward, it's also right to look back and remember the sacrifice that was made by many British, Australian and other Commonwealth soldiers and civilians at that formative time in Malaysia's history.
I remember in 2008 we had to keep our fingers crossed because Britain was planning a visa regime review, and you played an outstanding role to bridge the gap between both nations at that time. And did you actually fear the worst looking back?
I think there was always a risk that a visa regime would have been introduced. It wasn't what we wanted, it's certainly not what I wanted to do, but it was a very serious review of our policy towards Malaysia because there were serious instances of breach. We were seeing Malaysians entering the country illegally, overstaying their visas, and in quite large numbers. Malaysia had gone up to the top of our warning list, our alert systems, and so we had to look very seriously as to whether we should introduce a visa regime because visa-free access to the UK is a privilege, and that privilege was being abused. So we did not just a review of our policy, but we engaged with the Malaysian government, the Malaysian authorities, both here and in the UK, and the result was very, very positive. We had a constructive dialogue. We discussed ways in which we could do things better. We discussed messaging to the Malaysians who were living in the UK and abusing the system, and those messages were just as loud, just as clear from the Malaysian side as they were from the British side. And as a result of that, and as a result of very high-level engagement by ministers here, we were able to avoid what I think would have been a disappointment.
But there are those who still think that it's only a matter of time before we come under the visa regime. I mean, are those feelings well-founded?
Well, I mean, as any country, we continue to keep the matter under review. At the moment, we have no intention, no plans to introduce a visa regime for Malaysians. But we can't rule out the possibility, and if there's further abuse in future, of course, we'll have to reconsider.
I'd like to ask you before you leave, are there any factors still stacked up against us in this visa review?
Well, I mean, Malaysians haven't stopped overstaying. Malaysians haven't stopped being turned away at our ports because we think they're entering with improper intent. But the numbers are lower than they were before, and the intent on the part of the Malaysian government is very clear to work with us to avoid a situation where we need to impose a regime. So I would say, on balance, we're in a much better position than we were 2-3 years ago.
Statistics show that about 100,000 Malaysians visit the UK, 87,000 of them short-term visitors. What is your message to the average Malaysian holidaymaker having the UK in his or her mind?
We're delighted to see you. I mean, we love having Malaysians come to visit the UK. We love them to come to shop, to spend their money in British stores, travel the British countryside. They're fantastic tourists, and we're very pleased to have them. We love to have Malaysians come and bring their children to school in the UK, to university in the UK. We have an open society. We have a warm welcome for Malaysians who are old friends, and most Malaysians who have come to the UK have never had any intention of abusing the system. It's only a small minority who do that, who have brought the country into some disrepute. But I think we continue to say that we want Malaysia's people to come and visit Britain, Malaysia's brightest and best young people to come and study in Britain, and so we have an open door, but a door which could close if there was further abuse.